Alright, so now let's look at this problem. So consider the set of the points in this given set C here. It's a pair x and y such that x and y, those are integers, and x squared plus the absolute value of y is less or equal than 2, right? Less than 2. So suppose that we pick a point from this set completely at random. Thus each point has the probability of the 1 over 11 being true. It has 4 parts. It asks us to figure out what is joined as the marginal PMF of x and y. What is the conditional PMF of x given y equals 1. Also asks us x and y independent or not. And then lastly, the figured out what is the expectation value of xy squared. Okay, so I think here is the thing. So first of all, maybe we can take a look at how do we get this probability 1 over 11 comes up. So if we look at this set here, you see we can easily to draw a xy plane here, noticing that if x equals 0, so you see that 0, 0 for sure, it's one of them. And also 0, 1 is also good, right? So based on the symmetric, 0, negative 1 is also a good point, because I'm taking the absolute value of y. Similarly, 0, 2 will be good. And then the 0, negative 2 will also be good. Okay, so those are the point when x equals 0. Well, if x equals 1, noticing that 1, 0, it's a good number. And also 1, 1 is also good, right? Because for x equals 1, y equals 1, so it's equals 2, so it's good. And also 1, negative 1 is also good, okay? Okay, because again, x it has square here, and we have y as the absolute value, so meaning all the symmetric points with respect to the y-axis, that is negative 1, 1, negative 1, 0, and also the negative 1, negative 1 will also be 3 good points, right? So as you can see, we have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. So put it together, that's why we have 11 points. So that's where this 1 over 11 from. Okay. So to start with, the joint part A. What about the joint PMF? Well, it's already given, right? So the joint PMF, which is 1 over 11, when x and y belongs to C, and 0 otherwise. Okay, so that's something you can think of. Okay. So talking about the marginal PMF. So let's see the marginal PMF. First of all, this R of x, the range of x, do you realize that x can only take 3 values, right? Negative 1, 0, and 1. The range for the y is counted from negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and 2, right? So negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and 2, right? So we can write it down. So the marginal PMF for y. So it is when y equals 2, so it's 1 over 11. Y equals 1, so it's the sum of these 3 points, right? 3 over 11. Y equals 0, so again, so it's a 1, 2, 3. 11 over 3. Y equals minus 1. 1, 2, 3. Y equals minus 2. So it's going to be 11 over 3 and, 0 otherwise, right? So we know that. And then the PMF, marginal PMF for x, when x equals 1, so as you can see, it's a 3 over 11. When x equals 0, so it's a 5 over 11. When x equals negative 1, so it is 3 over 11. So that's what we can do. So that's part of problem 8, right? Figure out the joint and the marginal PMF for x and y. Okay. So moving on, we gonna look at, okay, what about part B, right? Part B. Figure out what is the conditional PMF of x, given that y equals 1, right? So as you can see here is you see for the when x equals 1, so the probability of x equals 1 given that y equals 1, it equals the probability that x equals 1, y equals 1 over the probability that y equals 1, right? So the probability that x equals 1 and y equals 1, if we go back to here, which is 1 over 11, the probability that y equals 1, as you can see that it is 3 over 11, so put it together, it's 1 over 3. Okay, so when x equals 2, the conditional PMF of x given y equals 1, it is equal to the probability x equals 2, y equals 1 over the probability that y equals 1. So this is fixed on the denominator, so 3 over 11. When x equals 2, y equals 1, it also gives us it's 1 over 11, so it's again 1 over 3. And the last scenario, when x equals negative 1, what I'm doing. So this is when x equals 0, right? It's the same thing. When x equals 0, y equals 1, so it's again. So when x equals minus 1, so the probability that x equals minus 1 given y equals 1, so equal the probability that x equals minus 1 and y equals 1 given that the probability that y equals 1. So this is again 1 over 11 over 3 over 11, so give us is 1 over 3. So put all these pieces together, as you can see that the probability that x given y, it is so it's x given y equals 1. It is equals to what? It equals to 1 over 3 when x equals negative 1, 0, and 1. So 0, then it's other 1. Okay, so that's part B. Part C, it asks us, okay, these are independent or not, right? And clearly, you can see that those are not independent, so it's not independent. Why? Because the conditional PMF for X and does not agree with the corresponding marginal PMF for X, right? I mean, if they are independent, those two should be exactly the same, without the effect of Y. So that's why it's not easy to see. And then D, figure out what is this expectation for E of xy squared, right? So as you can see that this is the summation of I, j belongs to this the range, or the range C here, such that if I denote X, so it's ij squared, and then time this joint probability, right? But also noticing that this joint probability don't agree, it equals to 1/11, right? Because that's the joint PMF. So this becomes into 1/11 that ij from this range of x and y, I times j squared, right? Times j squared here. So easily you can see that, so there is a scenario that I equals 0, so it becomes all 0. So only we can look at those points. For the point on the xy axis, don't you agree it all becomes into 0, right? Because it's any of them, it's a 0, it's a 0. So all we need to do is to check, okay, when x equals -1, y equals 1, so we're gonna have it's -1 times 1 here, right? So that's the summation, 1 squared plus 1 times 1 squared plus -1 times -1 squared, and plus 1 times -1 squared. Okay, so clearly you can see that those two, the sum of those two, it is 0. The sum of those two is also 0. So the expectation for this one, it's 1/11 times 0. It gives us, it is 0. Okay, so that finishes the whole problem here. Okay, so I think when we draw this graph, it's very helpful to figure out all this for PCs. Okay, so thank you for the watching.